Hi, my name's Matthew Ennis from G1 Goldmine and Stallion Match, and thank you very much for the invitation to talk with you today about innovation in thoroughbred breeding, not in a futuristic or a disruptive sense, but in a very practical, real-world way. Breeding's always been innovative. The best breeders have always relied on observation, pattern recognition, and experience. But what's changed isn't the intent, it's the scale. We now deal with thousands of stallions, international pedigrees, and performance data from dozens of racing jurisdictions. There's more information than ever before, yet decision making has become harder, not easier. So this isn't about replicating intuition or tradition. It's about how data used properly can support better judgment and help industry learn faster from its own outcomes. Let's get into it. Right, so I've got some slides here. We've got quite a few of them, so we'll just fly through them. And then the last slide, I've got my email. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to contact me and we can go from there. So we're going to run through specifically Stallion Matching G1 Goldmine and how we're using innovation, where we think it's heading, and why these kinds of things are kind of bubbling to the surface now. We're seeing these conversations being had quite frequently. So the conversation now, the landscape has never seen as much data. There's unprecedented volumes of information across a global network of racing, which has left breeders with more choices, with stallions positioned across every price point. But with more data and more options, there's less certainty, and the decision-making process is actually much harder. It's not easier. So the industry isn't short of information. The challenge is transforming that abundance into clarity and confidence when making critical breeding decisions. So it's bringing all of that information together to make the best possible outcome. So this slide, we've got 4 timeless principles that have been occurring for generations. And I would argue that breeding's always been innovative, and it's been innovative through these 4 principles. The first one being observation. So experts have been watching patterns emerge across generations for years. The second one is pattern recognition. They've been identifying what works and what doesn't. The third one's experience. They've been building knowledge through identifying these patterns through decades, often generations, and it's passed down. And the last one is iteration. So they've been refining these strategies season after season, which has been quite interesting. So innovation didn't start with technology, it started with the brain. And it's been the foundation of the thoroughbred breeding industry since the beginning. But what's changed is the scale and speed. So what we've had to do is get these 4 principles and then apply technology to them to really activate the correct use of scale. So as we mentioned, breeding's now global. It's a global landscape. It's been globalized thanks to the pioneers like Cornwall that have been shuttling their stallions back and forth all over the place, which is quite a common practice now. So we've got 2,150 active stallions currently at the moment, standing across multiple continents. We've got in our database 9.7 million runners analysed, 1 million races. So breeding now operates on a generally global scale, creating extraordinary opportunities for those who can navigate this breadth effectively. So if you can collect all this information and you can correctly harness, analyze, and process the information, it's going to put you in a huge advantage. So the real problem isn't the data, it's what to do with it. And the restraints when you have all this data, there's time restrictions. So research that once took hours now demands days of careful analysis across multiple sources. There's scale, so the sheer volume of stallions, pedigrees, performance records. For every horse, for example, we've got over 256 data points for every run. There's another 56 for every race. There's another 28. So all of this information becomes very, very difficult to process for the brain, which is the last point, cognitive load. So mental fatigue from Weighing countless variables reduces decision quality precisely when it matters most. So true innovation must reduce mental burden and reclaim time, not simply add another layer of complexity to an already demanding process. So what does real innovation look like in breeding? Firstly, it needs to be explainable. Every recommendation must come with clear reasoning that breeders can interrogate, understand, and validate against their own experience and knowledge. It must be practical. Tools must integrate seamlessly into existing workflows, providing actual insights that inform real breeding decisions immediately. Now, that doesn't mean collecting information and just exporting it to a spreadsheet because that's your workflow. It's about changing the way that you're thinking and including the additional data points or the additional metrics that come from the analysis into your decision-making process. And the last one, it has to be grounded in results. So evidence must be rooted in actual racing performance, not theoretical models or assumptions disconnected from racetrack outcomes. So lots of terms are being thrown around, not just in our industry. This is machine learning. This is AI. The fact is, everyone really should be asking, how large is the database that it was trained on? When was it trained on? How frequently is it updated? There's lots and lots of things that go into real effective models. So we're moving from intuition from those experts to intelligence. And I think that it's a merge. It's not one taking over the other. So we have human judgment, the irreplaceable foundation of breeding decisions, decades of experience, understanding of families, instinctive pattern recognition. These can't be replicated. These are learnt behaviors. And then the data comes in and supports them. So comprehensive evidence that validates intuition, surfaces hidden patterns, and provides confidence when exploring unfamiliar territory or unconventional matings. This represents intuition supported by evidence, not intuition replaced by algorithms or AI. The human decision remains absolutely central. Technology simply amplifies what experienced breeders already do brilliantly. So, for example, everything that we buy, we do not buy solely on data. We have our bloodstock agent, Mitchell Bloodstocks. They do the confirmation. We do the data analysis. And then Doc Chris Lawler does the vets. And then collectively, that's going to put us in the best position possible. So a shift is happening, and we're seeing that happen through our stallion searches and our nominations. So we can see that stallions now are being considered beyond the traditional stallions. So previously there may have been some data gaps with some of the outlying stallions, and now, breeders are looking at the full range and spectrum of stallions. And we're also seeing there's evidence-led confidence. So data-backed insights provide conviction needed to pursue unconventional matings that might otherwise feel too risky to attempt. So in other words, breeders may have already had an inclination towards a particular stallion, and the data has reinforced the desire to send their mare to that stallion, which is a good thing. So data isn't constraining choices, it's actually liberating them. Evidence-based tools are encouraging broader, more confident consideration sets. They're opening pathways to stallions that deliver exceptional results, but may have remain hidden within the noise. So we always know that the popular, most commercial stallions are the most popular ones, but we are seeing this broader stallion consideration within the market thanks to data. So performance appears at all fee levels. Stakes winners and Group 1 performers emerge from stallions positioned across the entire fee range, from proven elite size to emerging opportunities at more accessible price points. And I think that's a really important point with the cost of living that's happening at the moment. It would be much better for a breeder to be able to make a choice or enter the market or stay in the market with a stallion at a lower price point than leave the market, which is what we're kind of experiencing globally at the moment. It's important to know that outcomes don't scale linearly with price. So success in thoroughbred breeding proves remarkably non-linear. The data consistently shows exceptional results coming from unexpected sources when the right pedigree combinations align. So when you get the right stallion family and the right dam family and you bring them together, the best outcomes happen. So this observation, it's not a judgment on stallion pricing or commercial positioning. It's just demonstrating the racing outcomes that we're actually seeing within the data. So how are we getting the evidence? How is it coming up to the surface? The first one's pattern discovery. Advanced analysis, so the use of computers identifies successful pedigree combinations and breeding strategies that have consistently produced results across global racing jurisdictions. Every mating is then evaluated within its proper competitive context, where replicating past success is proven to be a highly effective path to repeated success. And then we scale the evidence. So insights derived from millions of races provide statistically meaning evidence that goes far beyond anecdotal observations or limited sample sizes. We don't have a small sample size. This is based on huge volumes of data, and we have found that great pedigrees, when great pedigrees are created, they replicate success. Fact. So tools like Stallion Match help service these patterns with clarity and speed, supporting professional judgment rather than attempting to replace the invaluable human expertise that defines successful breeding programs. So what does Stallion Match actually really do? So as we mentioned before, there's 9.7 million runners, and that's growing exponentially as there's so many races globally. There's 1 million races currently since 2011. So this scale isn't about prediction or foresight. We're not trying to predict. It's about context. Stallion Match analyzes large volumes of breeding and performance data to try and identify the patterns that work. And then we try to pass on those patterns so that breeders themselves can have success. So this matters for a few reasons. The first one, faster insights. There's too much information out there now for breeders to be pouring through countless informations and making it manual. Research that once required days of cross-referencing stud books, form guides, race records takes seconds. So freeing up time for strategic thinking and decision-making process is really important. The second thing is we're trying to reduce bias. So none of our algorithms include any human bias at all. So comprehensive data analysis helps identify opportunities that might be overlooked due to unconscious preference or regional familiarity or marketing influence. So it's really, really important that when you're making a decision initially, that all of the human bias is removed and that top of funnel is really coming down without any human bias at all. And thirdly, evidence-based confidence enables breeders to seriously consider stallions outside traditional shortlists. So we mentioned it earlier. We want breeders the opportunity to at least scan the options of all stallions that are available to their mare, rather than pigeonholing a certain group of stallions just from market influence, regional familiarity, or as such. So the cumulative effect transforms breeding research from a time-intensive burden into a strategic advantage, allowing experienced breeders to explore more possibilities with greater confidence. So innovation doesn't stop at the mating. It needs to continue along. So we get the mating, we can innovate that. Then there's racing. We need to capture all of the data and analyze that. And then there's the feedback loop. We're learning from those outcomes to improve the future decisions, and then the loop continues around. We want to transform breeding from educated guesswork into evidence-based strategy. Now, Goldmine. So that was Stallion Match. Goldmine is the next layer. So Goldmine adds a performance context, understanding not just that horses win, but how they win it, what distances, surfaces, competitive context, where did they win, what stakes level, what race class, all that kind of stuff. And then also the pedigree expression. We want to reveal how specific pedigree patterns translate into racing performance, identifying which combinations consistently deliver results, and more importantly, which ones consistently don't deliver results, which is also important. So G1 Goldmine adds critical dimensionality to analysing how pedigrees actually express themselves on the racetrack. Moving beyond simple outcomes, they offer genuine understanding of performance pattern. Why does this all matter for the industry? And I think it's really important that theories, breeding philosophies, they can be tested, and we test them all the time against a comprehensive large data set rather than relying solely on limited personal observations or received wisdom. So it's really important that we don't make these critical decisions on theories that were created long ago on a small sample size or before the industry became global. The industry as a whole benefits when successful patterns are identified and shared more rapidly, accelerating collective knowledge and raising standards. And there's fewer assumptions. Evidence-based analysis replaces guesswork with genuine insight, reducing the number of unexamined assumptions that can lead breeding programs astray. Data doesn't just benefit individual breeders, it creates positive feedback loops that elevate decision making across the entire industry, allowing theories to be rigorously tested rather than endlessly repeated. So, where is it going? Number one, faster feedback loops. Remember, we said breeding, racing, feedback loop, improve. So as performance data becomes available more rapidly, breeders can adjust strategies within season rather than waiting years to validate. Better capital efficiency. Evidence-based insights help deploy breeding budgets more strategically, which is very important in today's world. And lastly, confidence in the why. Why did you choose that stallion? Why did I go there? Understanding the reasoning behind successful matings creates genuine strategic advantage. Innovation isn't loudly disrupting the industry, it's quietly, steadily raising the baseline of breeding decision making. We don't just see it in breeding, it's also in buying and selling. So, and the same signals apply. So, number one in breeding, which we've discussed. Two, buying, so informed acquisitions of yearling and unproven stock. Racing, we validate breeding theories through competitive performance on the racetrack. And stallion prospects, identifying future size and brood mares based on the racing success. So the point is, it doesn't stop at the breeding shed. It continues through the whole cycle of the thoroughbred. So I think it's really important, and I've mentioned it a few times, but the secret sauce is combining experience with intelligence. So innovation in thoroughbred breeding isn't about predicting winners or replacing human judgment. It's about providing the evidence and context that help experienced breeders understand why certain strategies work. So I just very, very briefly, the difference between Stallion Match and Goldmine. Stallion Match is evidence-based stallion selection, drawing on a huge database where you simply put in a dam and a sire, and it will tell you how good that pedigree's been, with the idea of replicating that success. G1 Goldmine jumps into the weeds. It's performance analysis revealing exactly how pedigrees express themselves, distances, track types, and you can find out whatever combination of crosses that have worked, haven't worked. We are applying AI daily over our database with some very exciting results, which we hope to share with you in the future. If anyone's got any questions, as I mentioned there in the green box, I'd love to know your thoughts, questions, perspectives on anything about data, about the racing industry, how they two kind of merge or converge, and feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful session or next session. Bye.